Hi guys, Ngario here with another video. So today we're going to learn and look at Excel. We're going to see how we can use a couple of Excel tricks to make our work easier. So we're going to see 9 Excel tricks that we can use. I've made them in levels from level 1 to level 5, where there's level 1 is easy and it goes on getting a little bit more complicated, but very easy to follow through. So make sure you watch till the end, and I hope you learn something. Okay, to kickstart this series, you're going to look at data that looks like this. This is basically total sales data of beverage brands. The first thing that we want to do, is make sure that everything is visible here. You can see there are a couple of things that are not visible, and what you can do, you can double click this in each one of every one of them. But the best way to do it, since you can be working with data with a lot of columns, just go inside the data, press Ctrl A, then go home here, go to format, and then here you can auto fit column width and everything looks nice. Something else I want to do, I want to change this first row here and give it a different color. What you can do, go to the first one, then press Ctrl Shift the right arrow, and it will select everything there. Then we can come change it to blue here, and I'll change the letters to white so it looks a little bit different. You can change it to whatever you want, and when we go down, you'll notice something. This first row, which is very important, disappears, and then we have to keep on going up so that we can see what this value was or what this value was. To do that, so that we always see this first row, there is a couple of ways that we can do it. We can press Ctrl A inside the data, then we can press Ctrl T, Delta T, to make a table out of it. Press OK, and after this is done, when you go down, you can always see the price unit sold, total sales up here. Perfect. The other way that how to do this, which is the very good way how to do it without making a table, is using something called freeze pane. When you go to view here, you can go to split, and on the split you can press freeze pane. Before we press freeze pane, we have to split this, and you can see this two column and row lines appear. Because we don't want to freeze any column, we just remove this, and on the column now, on the row, we go to the first row. Perfect. And then when you click here freeze pane, it freezes that pane. So when we go down, you can always see the first row, which is very important. Okay, that is good, and that is how to freeze a pane. In the next example, we're going to look at data that looks like this. This is in an income statement data, and it has revenue, gross revenue, discounts, etc. When you go inside this data, you'll find that there's actually a formula inside it which reflects to this, as you can see. So this is C31, C32, and it is a formula inside there. But we don't want people to always see this, because it's a little bit daunting. We'd like this to be hidden, these values, so that if we hide this and then it just remains revenue, then costs, operation expenses, it looks a little bit better. So how to do that? We'll just go to this first one, press Shift space, select that whole row, go downwards, select all the 3 rows. What you can do, you can right click here and hide this, but this is not very obvious. There's something that is hidden. You can see from 30, 31, 32 and 33 have been hidden, but it's not always obvious there's something that has been hidden. I just press Ctrl Z or Ctrl Z to return to what we had. So what you can do is something called grouping, which is what we're going to learn about here right now. So you want to press Shift space, shift down. We can go to home here. We can go to data, then press group. So when you group this, you can see very distinctly that there's something that's being grouped. When you click this, it will group it, and then when you open it up, you can see what's inside there. So you can just group this, come here, shift space, shift down, do the same thing for this group, minimize this, and this will make it look a little bit better. There's a shortcut to this. You don't have to go up there and keep on grouping every single time. So we can just select this how we had selected it, shift space, shift down, and how to group it, you just press shift alt then the right arrow. So the right arrow has, as you can see, there's a grouping here. So if you press the left arrow or to ungroup, the right arrow to group, and then you can just minimize this and it looks a little bit better. And if anytime you want to see what's inside there, you can just open this, and that's how we group. And that's just level 1 stuff. Now let's move to level 2. So when you're talking about level 2, let's just open this up first, and let's say this file was open and somebody took your computer, and then they accidentally delete all this, and then now the income statement is just blank with a lot of div0 errors. So how to prevent this, anyone else trying to, or anyone else making a mistake on this, I just press Ctrl Z there to return to what we had. How to prevent anyone from making any adjustments, you'll just go to the review here, and here you can see protect sheet. When you click protect sheet, you can see you can add a password here, and there are a couple of things that you allow a person to do. So because you don't want this person to do anything, no one to be able to do anything on these cells, you can just select that, and they can just select and unselect unlocked files, no problem. Okay, perfect. So if somebody comes now and accidentally wants to type something here, it just says the cell or chart you're trying to change is a protected sheet. To make a change and protect the sheet, you might be requested to enter a password. Okay, and just to unprotect them, you can just click unprotect here, and changes can now be made. So that is protecting sheets. Let's look at another example of now data validation. Now let's look at this example. This is basically car sales of 2022, and each salesperson gets a sort of commission for every car they sell. So when you look at this values, these are in dollars. So it's basically D4 price multiplied by the sales, and these are in dollars. So if Michael Otieno sold a car and he gets 12% commission, so he gets that 600. You can see all this commission. You can see Sarah has made 2 sales here, so it's basically these 2 added together, which you can actually see on the sum down here, 80/40, which is the same as this. But let's say somebody sells a Toyota at $30,000, and that person is actually Michael, and let's say you've given somebody the data collection job, and Michael is usually called Mike. So when they write Michael will not get their commission. So that's where data validation comes in. So in data validation, what we want to do, we want to go to data here, and then you can see this part here written data validation. So yeah, you can see data validation here. You click data validation, allow not any value, you want a list, and that list will create a source here, and the source will be these names here. Enter. Okay, so when you come here now, if you come, you just write Michael Otieno, enter, his commission will come back. Very great. If you write John or Letip is perfect, his commission goes up, as you can see. And let's say now we come here and write Mike, enter. So if this intern or this person you're giving data entry job writes the wrong name, they just say this value does not match the data validation restriction designed for this cell. So you can just retry and have now Michael Otieno, enter, and actually there's a drop down list here where they can just select a name, and that is data validation. Let's move on to level 3 now. So in level 3, let's look at data that looks like this. So it has regions of sales, and we have these counties here, and then there is this time period. So when you just look at these numbers, you might not know how the trend is, how these counties are selling, what is the general trend of each and every one of these counties. That's where something called sparkline comes in. So when we insert, when you go to insert here, you can find sparklines here, and then there is line. And let's say we just want to insert a line here, click this. Data range is the data that we want the range to be in, so we'll just be from here. You can press shift control right, so that selects everything, or you can just go one by one, but shift control right selects everything. Okay, and then the location of the range is on all 3 here, so it's good. Okay, and you can see how the trend is. You can see that Nairobi is actually having a very good trend, and you can see now how this actually works. And if you're not satisfied by the way how it looks, you can just go to sparkline here. After going to sparkline here, go to insert here. We've taken the sparkline, perfect. Go to sparkline here. You can change the color. You can change the color here. I think we can take black. Let's just remain with the color that we had, and perfect. It looks good. You might want maybe it to be a little bit bigger. We can go to marker color here after selecting sparkline. You can go to marker color here. We can click this. Sparkline color, then go to weight, and then you can make it a little bit thicker like that. Then we can make it for everything. We can just go to this corner here, double click. Okay, it's not working. Just drag, go to the corner and drag up to the totals here. Now you can see how this looks. I think I'll just make this a little less big. Let's work with that. Perfect. Now you can see there's a good trend for Nairobi. Very weird trend. This is Nairobi, Nakuru. You can see a bad trend here. Now you can see how everything is faring with just this simple sparkline here. It's just basically a line graph, but a very, very small and a very, very understandable graph, and that's how we construct sparklines. So still at level 3, let's look at this other example. Before we start with examples, we offer, as at Safra, we offer data science courses which involve Excel, and also work with Python, working with packages like Pandas, Matplotlib, Seaborn, Plotly, Scikit-learn, etc., where we teach data science and machine learning. So if you're interested, just go to the description and you'll find a link to our sales page where you can go and just find out a lot of things about us. Back to the video. So here you can see that there are a couple of things, and maybe let's say we want to calculate profit, and profit is usually the revenue minus the costs. So let's say equals revenue minus the costs. Enter. Now we have let's just change this to currency. Remove a couple of decimal points. Perfect. And now we have the revenue. You can double click that, and perfect. But remember, you'll be working with a lot of formulas, and then when you come and click this, it's not very intuitive. And what we want to do is make it as easy to understand as possible when you look at any formula. So how to do this? Let's just control Z back to this. Perfect. And after this, we want to define names for revenue and costs. You can just select all of this, go to data, insert, where is it? Want to define a name. Go to formulas here, formulas, go to define name, click that, and it will define the name for all of this. As you can see, it has very intuitively given us revenue because it has looked at this first row. And when we press OK and then come to this other one, select everything, define a name, it has given us costs. Okay, so when we come now here, we can just say equals revenue. You can save revenue here minus costs. We'll click that, enter. Let's just make this whole thing go home. Let's just make it currency. I remove 2 decimal places. It looks good. Now, as you can see, the formula is very intuitive. You can see it's revenue minus costs, and it looks nice. And double click this, everything here is now revenue minus costs, which looks really nice and very easy to understand. And that's how we use define name. If you are into programming or know how programming works, this is more like defining a variable in some sort of way. And that's how you define a name. Let's move on now to level 4. Okay, for this example, we can see that there's the name here, there's the first name, last name, initials, and email. So when you look at these names here, maybe the first name is Mike, right? Mike. The second name is Githinji. The initials are MG, and the email, let's say it's Mike.Githinji at fake.com, enter. And if you want to fill everything here, we can go back to here and write Dorcas, but that will be very tedious, especially if we have very many names here. So what you can do, because Excel is very smart, you can just press Ctrl E to fill that, Ctrl E, Ctrl E, Ctrl E. Now you can see how to fill that very easily just by using Ctrl E. Excel is smart enough to know what we are trying to do. And that is level 4 stuff. Let's move to level 5 now, where we'll talk about text to column. Now let's look at this data here. Let's say we are collecting data from a certain data collection software, and this is how the data was collected. So we have this first part here, which has the ID, and then the name, the last name, the product, and the price. So for us to have this in this format, we can just come here and write the ID number 126493. Then you can have the RESA. Then you can have Maya. And you can say iPad here. And then 995.95. And this is very tedious, especially if these rows are very many rows for this specific row data. If you have like 1,000 of them, it will be very tedious to do this. So the best way to do this is by, we can just first of all select all this, and then we're going to use text to column. We're going to use something called text to column, which is here. It's in data, and then this text to column. So here on text to column, there's a couple of things that are look very hard maybe to understand, but it's very easy, because you just click delimited here, which says characters such as commas or tabs separate each field, and then go to next, and we realize that our data has been separated by underscores. So click other here, and then you put that underscore there, and without that you can just see when I write the underscore there, it has just separated this very perfectly, and it looks really nice. And then we can go to next here, and then destination is where we want the data to go to. We want it to go here exactly, enter, and then you can just press finish, and voila, look at that magic. So separated everything, put them very perfectly the way we want it, and that is how to use text to column. Okay, let's look at another example. Okay, let's look at this data here now. Some level 5 stuff here. So as you can see, this is just regional sales data from Nairobi, Nakuru, Mombasa, Kilifi, Kiambu, Narok, Kisumu, and Naivasha from Monday to Sunday, and it looks a little bit weird. And let's say we do this every week, where we will come to this, then we'll just say the sales total, let's say something like, okay, and we find, let's say, the weekly, sorry for that, weekly sales, and weekly average, and we select, maybe we want to have all this, then we'll just that this will just be equal to weekly sales will be equal to all this, weekly average will be equal to average of all this. Perfect. And let's say we do this every single week. Now we might want to come here, select everything, go home here, format, out of fit column width. We're going to maybe want to change this color, make it bold, select all this, change the color to deep blue, then make the letters white, and maybe come to the totals, bold this, and now it looks a little bit better. You can maybe bold both of these two, and that's how we want to always work with this. And maybe we want to have Kenya shillings for each one and every one of this, custom Kenya shillings. These two will also have Kenya shillings also, and that's something that we always have to do every single week, from week 1 to week 21 to week 22, week 23, week 24. Just have these figures in KSH. Perfect. That whole process can be recorded using Excel, so that if we have data for another week, we can just take this whatever we have done here and apply it to the new data. Let's go back to what we had. Let me Control Z back to what we had before we wrote anything. Perfect. So what you can do is go to the developer tab. As you can see, there's no developer tab here, so we just right click on any one of them, customize ribbon, and right here you can see developer here. Just look for developer here. Okay, and it appears. When it appears, there's this part where there's code, there is record macro. So when you see record macro, you can just click record, and let's say weekly sales adjustment. I think that's good. Okay, this looks nice. Let's have the shortcut be Control Y, then okay. Okay, no problem. We'll just call weekly underscore here, underscore here. Okay, and now as you can see, it is recording. So we can come and make our adjustments here, make this bold, select everything, go home here, format autofill column width, go down, perfect, customize this, make it Kenya shillings, come here, change this to the deep blue and the letters white, come to the totals, make it bold, Control B, then come here at weekly sales, and then weekly average, enter, and then this will be equal to this, all this together, and then this will also be equal to the average. Just once you let average, you just press tab, then it will auto complete the average of this whole. Click the first one, then Control Shift right, selects everything, enter, and then you have the weekly average. Sorry, this is supposed to be sum, the sum tab of everything here, enter. So this is the weekly sales. I think everything looks nice. That's how we want it to always look. Perfect. Then we go back to the developer, then stop recording. After doing this, let's me just create another one that looked like this one here very fast. Okay, let's say now we have data for week 22 and it looks like this. Rather than us coming and doing the whole process again, we can just come here and just play what we had. So now on this, what we want to do is go here to macros, and then you can see weekly sales adjustments, and this is what we want to run. And once we run this, it looks exactly like this. Remember, it came from looking like this. Sorry, I cannot undo that, but no problem. You can see now it looks completely the same as this one with all the adjustments made. Every single adjustment has been made and it looks good. Okay, everything nice. It's perfect. Okay, and that is how you use macros. That is how you use macros to get everything to look the same. If it's some repetitive thing that you always do, you can just use macros to make the task very easy to do. Okay, and that's the end of the video. I hope you've learned something today. Throw a like there, throw a like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.